Welcome everyone to your reading. This is a love reading, but a self-love reading, not time specific. It's a choose your card reading, or choose your spread reading. But I'm just going to show you these objects. They correspond 1 through 6 to. That's annoying, putting my hand in front of the thing like that. They correspond 1 through 6 to the readings. So I'll just give you a minute to look at these and choose whichever one you like, whichever one you feel, and yeah. Number 1, if you all chose number 1, let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm seeing for you guys let me just stall for a minute. That's annoying. I'm seeing that you really do have a lot of strengths that you're in touch with, right? And that you have a lot of self-value and see a lot of your strengths, but there's some insecurities as far as your intellect is concerned, I guess, if that makes sense. Not only maybe not feeling smart enough, I guess, but also having insecurities related to sharing your ideas and sharing your perceptions and things like that, right? And the cards just want you to know that you have a unique insight, right? And I think that you're almost requiring too much of yourself. Okay, there's you can really build upon your strengths and use those to gather knowledge that can be unique and different from other people's knowledge, and therefore can fill in a lot of gaps, right? But that also where was I going with this? Also what? Shit! Where the fuck was I going with this? Okay, I should start over. Okay, welcome everyone. If you chose number 1, what I'm seeing for you guys is some insecurities related to your intellect, I guess. You may be involved in some academic pursuits right now that are giving you some headaches. I'm thinking that you guys are aware of a lot of your strengths, right? Overall, you're pretty confident, pretty capable in a lot of ways, right? You see yourself as someone who's caring, who's stable, who's fun, who's willing to go out there and kind of explore some new things and that kind of thing. But there's some insecurities related to your intelligence specifically, or maybe to a lack of knowledge or something like that, something that you don't know, right? That you may be going into a situation that's more unfamiliar, and you're a little nervous about that. But the cards want you to know that that you do have a unique perspective, right? That's maybe a little bit different, and it's based on some more of those strengths, right? Not on this weak spot that you're so focused on, but that because you do have a very kind of well-rounded life persona, that kind of thing, that you have a lot of viewpoints that other people are not privy to, and that you can kind of come up with a lot of different perspectives and that kind of thing for people, and also see how things are really kind of connected too. See how you can fill in some gaps where other people are missing missing some information, and they can fill in gaps for you, right? You don't have to really do everything and see everything, because that's impossible, but you can be a part of that for sure, I think. And a lot of it does have to do with your insight and your ability and willingness to explore and to be a strong person in that exploration, and to seek and to want to seek. And it's not as big of a deal that you don't have the knowledge now, but that you'd like to have it, right? And that you're kind of looking for it, and that you're that kind of soul, right? So, okay, yes, I hope that helps. Okay, so for those of you who chose number 2, this reading is really talking about a positive and a negative side of something, right? Of this trait that's very exacting in a way. It's it's communicative. Sorry, I can't get the word out. And it's nurturing. It really knows kind of like how to do things. It can be very enterprising. It can be very revolutionary in a lot of ways, because it is so communicative, and it is very person-oriented also. But then there's some negative sides, some flip sides, right? That kind of, they want you to look at both of those and weigh them out and see where in your personality you're expressing things in a positive way versus a more negative way. So the more negative aspect of it would be that you could get very stuck on your own ideas, right? Very stuck on something that you have created, and not moving out of that and not expanding on that. You could also be a little bit aggressive / passive aggressive, right? If you really see things as the right way, maybe not giving people as much agency as they deserve as their own people, right? That you want to be a little bit of the boss in a way. But they want you to look at both of those aspects and weigh them out, and be very real with yourself about which ones are being shown more and which ones are being exhibited less, and see where you can channel some of those energies into the positive incarnations, right? Where you can allow people their agency, and also be able to align yourself with people who have the same vision as you, and who have what's the word, congruent or reciprocity in their skills and things like that, right? Situations that are ready for you and that you're ready for, where you can really shine and you can really bring some of your ability to kind of your insights and your ability to really see sort of minute details and what goes where, and ways to really kind of look at things in a new, fresh, really inspired manner, right? So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that's you. Yeah. Okay, if you chose number 3, here's what I'm seeing for you guys. It's I'm getting a sense of insecurity related to your ability to like build things, right? Amass things, build maybe relationships, maybe stable work environments and things like that, right? Because you're maybe somebody who's a little bit flightier, a little bit kind of like wanting to check things out all the time. It's easy for you to keep sort of an emotional distance as well, right? And you sort of feel like you're missing something a little bit, or that you're lacking in that area, right? The ability to kind of build something really strong and stable, because you have sort of a an up in the air kind of thing about you, right? The cards want to say that I think first of all that like a lot of people have, this sounds silly maybe, but a lot of people have the opposite problem, right? Of course, where they're people who are very like stuck. They get really stuck easily because they their natural kind of way is to be a little bit more stable, and they lack some excitement, and they lack some variety, and they lack some inspiration and that kind of thing. And it's like no matter what kind of like side of that you fall on, like there's something that you're good at and something that you have to work at, is basically what I'm getting at. Like you can work at this other thing, right? Like you're good at one thing, you see something that you want, you can go for it and you can work on it. Like just because it doesn't come easily to you or it doesn't come naturally doesn't mean you can't attain it. It's just about finding out or finding a way to do it that works for you and that's conducive to who you are as a person, right? And it doesn't have to necessarily be what works for everybody else, because you may be a little bit different than everybody else who wants that kind of stability, right? But then also that it's why do I keep doing that and then forgetting what I'm saying? Let's see. Yeah, that you just can do it. It's just going to take some work, and luckily I think that you have this your ability and your want to kind of like do different things and get into different things can work to your advantage, because you can really jump into this. You can jump into working out how to build deeper relationships and be more, a little more connected. And also I think that there's opportunities to do things with people that are like you in that vein, if that makes any sense too. Like I think that maybe you'll have a stable situation that is a little bit less, I don't know why, I guess I'm getting like relationships and things, but something that's maybe a little bit less passionate than you would expect or something like that, but it can lend a little bit of stability, and then you can find your sort of passion in other places where you usually find it, right? It's just about kind of like figuring out how it'll work for you, and then having trust in yourself and faith in yourself, and realizing that like if this is something you want, like you can do it. You should be able to do it. Like even if it doesn't come easy, people learn new skills all the time, you know. It's just a skill like everything else, and there are resources and things like that too. I'm not going to get very deep on this reading, but you know what I mean. There's resources about how to deal with whether it's having to do with your past experiences, or just how to connect on a more stable level, right? How to stay in touch with people and that kind of thing, like just putting the work in, basically. If that's something that you really want, and you know, you should feel lucky too. I think that you don't have to worry about this other little section, which is the part of you that's constantly like bringing in new things and wanting to experience new things. Like that's something that like you're good at, you've got, so you don't have to like worry about that part, right? So you just have to kind of I'm saying it like it's easy, but you know, you have to put some energy and some work into this other thing if you really want it, and I think that you can. I think that you can, and I think that because there's a lot of sort of inspiration and taking things from your environment and things like that, and looking at them and getting excited about them, that you should be able to find something that's really can work for you, if you're willing to explore and stuff. Okay, so yeah. Okay, for those of you that chose number 4, I'm seeing some insecurities related to your strangeness, or feeling maybe like you're not being taken in the right way, I guess, and that your connections are suffering, your relationships are suffering or could suffer, because you have some strange quirks or something like that, or some strange ideas, thoughts, and things like that, and you're not sure how they're going to be taken. You think, you know, they are maybe not being taken the right way, or not how you see them in your head, or something like that, right? And these cards, though, are really talking a lot about manifestation and transformation. So they're kind of giving me this picture that you really do have a lot of power, I guess. There's a lot of, yeah, it's a manifestation energy. It's really making things happen, and it's really like almost like a magician energy, and as above, so below kind of energy. It really has this quality of like maybe your strangeness is really your power, right? And it's specifically your power of manifestation. And I think a lot of that comes through doing things and being active and putting yourself out there, right? And just to remember too that, like, I don't know, it's not really best to conform. Like, I don't know, that sounds so basic, but like, it's just not, the people who succeed in the world aren't, you know, some of them are normal, some of them are quite normal, very like average, you know, but a lot of them are not also. All kinds of people have success in this world and are fucking freaks, so I don't know. I think that, not to call you a freak or anything, but I think that it's or not to say that you're being over worried either, but just to kind of reassure you and let you know that, like, you really do have a lot of opportunity and a lot of power, and a lot of when you have have some intention behind something, and if you actually reach out there and you communicate it, and you seek an audience in a way, but also just seek a kind of a back and forth, and make sure that you're in a correct environment as well, right? That your environment may be influencing you to think that you're really too strange to succeed. That sounds weird, but that's not true. Maybe you just aren't with your right people, right? And you just need to be looking for something that's a little more congruent to who you are and what your deal is, right? So yeah. Okay, if you chose number 5, I am seeing a person who is a really strong leader because they, I guess presumably you, have a like an underlying sense for humanity, basically, like very focused on justice, but in a way where everybody's happy, basically, where of course not everyone can be happy, but you know what I mean, where people are able to flourish, have good lives, do the things they want to do in this life, and that kind of thing, right? You have a very strong sense for that, and a dedication to that. So yeah, I'm seeing a really powerful leader, I guess, because of that, because there's a lot of this, almost the antithesis of what we think of as like leader energy, right? As being very like domineering. Now there is a sense of when you start to get into that place of having more empathy than a lot of people would if their sort of main mode and their goals are to have that power and that kind of thing, if that makes any sense. Yeah, but there's a very strong dedication to justice, I guess. Things being cohesive for people, things being living and stable at the same time. It sounds a little bit strange, but yeah. So the cards are really, they're not giving me like a ton of advice, but I guess the one thing that they're saying is to kind of focus on that, the fact that of like what that those things. Whoa, I'm really stuttering. Focus on the fact that those things can make you a good leader, right? That you may not feel like you're necessarily the leader type. That you see things as too maybe middle of the road, middle ground. You're a little bit too focused on seeing all the sides of things that it makes you maybe that you can't. Means that you maybe can't direct situations as well, right? That you feel a little bit like you don't know which way to kind of go and root for. But I think that in the end, your ability to see different sides of things and everything like that is really your strength, if that makes sense. And your wishes for others as well, right? The things that you really like to see in the world, I'm seeing are very, very, very positive, very worthwhile, and very worth pursuing and sharing, and being a little bit forward with them, maybe being a little bit forceful with them, a little bit what's kind of the opposite of your nature in order to facilitate those things for people, right? Being somebody who wants everybody to kind of get along and feel good. You might not be so inclined to really want to push your opinion on people and that kind of thing, but that you can really help people to open up that part of themselves better if you can access that part of yourself, right? If that makes any sense, be able to kind of help people actually be at real peace by being communicative and being interactive and being feeling strong in yourself and strong in your convictions, I guess, and your ability to really care. Can be really well matched with also building something very concrete and sort of what we think of as the opposite of that. Okay, so yeah, enough rambling. All right, and if you chose number 6, this one seems to be on theme. I am getting this theme, I guess. for quite a few of these, but again, this has to do with somebody, I guess you, who is an emotional, self-protective type, right? And a little bit feeling like you're lacking some strength. Maybe you're lacking some the ability to kind of protect yourself or something. And thereby overcompensating, I guess. Being a little bit, more withdrawn, more focused on the self, and concerned about the self, and concerned about your own safety, and a little bit paranoid that you don't have the resources, I guess, the material resources and things to cope with some of these things. These cards just really kind of want to remind you to be brave. That's my bravery card at the pinnacle there. And that there really is a lot of stability around you and within you and in your environment, and that you have support. I think you have really concrete support, but you also have some inner guidance, some spiritual support, and it is really about that faith card. I think that bravery situation, that just kind of leaping and going for it, and taking for granted kind of that you do have more strengths than maybe it feels like a little bit, because you have such a sort of soft underbelly, I guess, like a softness that feels vulnerable, that you don't feel like you can really overcome, I guess. But the thing is that that's like a good thing. I think I see that as like a good combination, right? Is having that sort of like softness and a sense for your what am I saying? Where am I going with this? Your like physical environment, right? A sense for how to structure your physical environment to keep you safe, but without being very cold and closed off on the inside, right? I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing that on the inside there's a lot of movement and a lot of motion and emotion. And I think that that's a good thing. That's a good thing to have at your core if you're going to go out and seek some of these more stable elements, right? Because you could be somebody that's seeking these stable elements and that doesn't have that sort of emotional and warm, like, inside, you know what I mean? And you'd be going too kind of like far off into that. Like, I think that what you're seeing as kind of a vulnerable part is really one of your strengths. It's really what can inform you of a lot. It's what can keep you kind of on your path, but it's also what can keep you from going to like an extreme degree, since what you really do want is a little bit of stability and that kind of thing. Then you really hopefully can find a nice balance by your natural kind of emotionalism, right? If that makes any sense. So yeah, but they want you to be brave and not worry too much about opening yourself up, and have a little bit of faith in yourself and faith in your ability to protect yourself. And I think that too, because I'm seeing that you are protecting yourself, right? You're already there, holding yourself kind of inside this this like area that you can do that, right? You obviously can do that. You're obviously good at doing that and are able to do that, so you don't have to worry too much about those just like all of a sudden coming apart and being exposed, right? Because you've spent some time building up these kind of barriers and things like that, but in a they can be productive, right? They can really protect you now that you are kind of used to it, if that makes any sense. It seems a little strange, but what I'm getting is that you've have this vulnerability that is scary, and so that you've built something up around it, and now that that's there, you can feel free to move forward a little bit. You know what I mean? Move on, feeling like you have a layer of protection, that you're not just going to completely come apart once you start to move out of that area, and that you can be open up a little bit more as it becomes safe, and be able to seek things that are safe environments and things like that. That you maybe can move on to that stage a little bit, yeah, and look for some support too. You know, look around you and see where the support is around you, and where there are other people and other elements and other things that you've already built up that are there, ready and waiting for you to kind of lean on them, right? And prepared, and can hold your weight a little bit. Yeah, okay, I hope that's helpful. As usual, thank you all for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.